People who slept with their best friend. What happened? I caught feelings. She didn't. We dropped the benefits part after a year and worked it out. Then I met my wife-to-be, and it became irrelevant. This bit opposite. He caught feelings, we didn't speak for 2 weeks but got over it, talked it out. Realized we would rather have each other in our lives no matter what. Now I'm married and we're still best friends. Have been since 6th grade and we're in our 30s. Why waste all that for some fun? We had both just gone through bad breakups. We split a bottle of wine and started venting about our failed relationships. One thing led to another and next thing we know we were in bed together. We got married, were together for 22 years, eventually divorced, which is a bummer, losing your husband and best friend. Why did you guys divorce if you don't mind me asking? According to Up's post history, they got together at 16 and husband eventually had an affair. A friend's story. At first, they were sleeping together because the sexual tension was getting too much, but he couldn't commit because he had greater priorities to take care of. Then when he realized he was at risk of losing her forever, he took the plunge and asked her if she wanted to be with him, and she teased him, wondering why it took him so long. She actually helped him get through a lot of things and turned out to be the support he needed all along. They're happily married now. She told me I should move out of the flat and she never spoke to me again. Best friends 4 years and did everything together. One stupid night of drinking way too much destroyed that friendship real quick. Edit. For those wanting more backstory, my friend invited me out to a night of drinking followed by drinks at the flat. We were both absolutely hammered. I hadn't had anything to drink in years, so it didn't take much. Months later found out she had wanted to be in a relationship with me for years. So I think the sleeping together thing had always been a bit of an end goal for her, but then probably saw that it was more of a mistake on my part instead of the beginning of a relationship. It went on for a few months. The sex was decent, but I knew she was moving a couple hours away and neither of us were interested in making that work, so it ended pretty amicably. We had a year or so of awkwardness and less contact, but that also could have been BC. We saw each other much less with her moving. I moved across the country. She got married. We're still friends, but not like we were before. My best female friend and I were very close and we were both a little promiscuous, but would usually just regale each other with our escapades. She frequently expressed interest in me, but I was unwilling to jeopardize the friendship, so I never went for it. Then she got really sick, terminal, and was put on hospice, then taken off a couple times. During one of her brief moments of wellness, I went over to visit and we hooked up. It was a lot of fun, and she passed away shortly thereafter. I still miss her and think about her. She was a great friend. Sometimes I regret not giving in to her suggestions while we were both well, but more than anything I miss having a true female bro. Slept with my best friend during COVID lockdowns. It then became a regular occurrence until we both started to catch feelings and it became a bit toxic. He eventually got a girlfriend and we stopped speaking for a few months after, but now we're back to being best friends and I consider his girlfriend one of my best friends as well. I'm thankful every day that it didn't ruin our friendship. Does she know that you and him slept together? Yeah, he told her our history very early in their relationship. She was always cool with it. More mature than most people, I'm sure. We began a monogamous relationship that has taught me what loving someone really means. After months of sleeping together and cuddling, texting constantly and literally nothing else ever, I thought either he was gay or self-conscious, and I didn't look at him as anything past my best friend and rock in my messy life. It happened. And from that moment on I realized how incredibly attractive he actually is and couldn't think about anything else but him. That was a year ago next month and I'm laying next to him now, smelling his skin and cuddling him while he sleeps, and I scroll Reddit. I still can't get enough of him. It kind of ruined everything. TBH, I always had a thing for him but he wasn't aware about it since I know how to bury stuff deep down, lol. Anyway, we had a few drinks one evening, and then one thing led to another and we ended up sleeping together. Imagine the shock when we woke up next to each other the following morning, haha. We tried laughing it off, but the awkwardness kind of stayed. The friendship seemed forced after that and we eventually lost contact. But the thing is, I never really forgot about him. Never deleted his phone number too. It's not that I thought about him all the time, or stalked his socials, but he just seemed to occupy a certain space in my heart that I'd suddenly reopen once every 3 years lol and meddle with the what ifs. He was, after all, the first guy I had a crush on, and the only guy I ever truly liked. So anyway, 10 years later, this year, I ran into him at a random bookstore, in a really small town no one has ever heard of, and there he was, perfect as ever haha. We immediately went out to grab a few drinks and caught each other up on lost times, the awkwardness long gone. We finally talked about that night, 10 years later lol, and we both agreed it was a mistake and it kind of ruined our friendship. I finally told him about the feelings I always had for him, and that somehow, I never forgot about him. He was surprised of course and admitted he had always liked me too, and thought of me often haha, we're really shy people. But now, we're both headed in different directions in life. As we hugged each other goodnight that night, we kind of understood that that would be our last meeting and we'd never see each other again. But I'm grateful for that chance meeting at that bookstore located in the middle of nowhere, and even though it's 10 years too late and I lost a good friend, friendship and possibly a soul-binding healthy relationship, I'm glad I got the opportunity to at least tell him what and how I felt. Closure, I suppose. I wish him the very best in everything he does. In a way, he'll always have my heart. I'm a guy, and one of my best friends back in middle and high school was a girl. Let's call her Audrey. We both played basketball and had a fun competitive friendship involving lots of one-on-one matches, horse, etc. She lived a short bike ride away, so we played ball a lot, we'd eat at each other's houses, were friendly with each other's parents, would hang out and watch movies, etc. We each dated other people and it was cool. There was always an undercurrent of attraction which we were surprisingly mature about, looking back. In 8th grade we made a pact that we'd see each other as brother and sister and that was that. We stuck to it, dated other people, it was cool. She even dated one of my other best friends and it didn't impact our friendship, everyone was cool. Toward the end of senior year I broke up with my longtime girlfriend and was a bit of a wreck. Audrey invited me over to play ball. It was a very hot spring day, and after playing a bit we went inside to cool off. Her parents weren't home and I noticed that she was acting a little bit differently toward me. Up in my face with a lot of playful trash talk, always physically close. She asked if I wanted to watch a movie, which was something we always did in her bedroom so her parents could have some peace in the living room. I said fine, and she already had a movie picked out, one which I'd never heard of, Wild Things. I went into that movie completely clueless about it, and yeah, it's Wild Things. She obviously picked that movie for a reason. Right after the first sex scene, she leaned over and kissed me, and then before I even fully processed what was going on, she was giving me head. She wanted me to finish that way so I did. Quite quickly. She seemed happy with that and we cuddled like lovers for the rest of the movie. Predictably, things got a little weird after that. As maturely as we'd handled things before, now neither of us knew what to do, especially since we were going to college in different states. I knew that I didn't want to have a long distance girlfriend despite my feelings for Audrey, and I think she felt that way too. We never hooked up again and didn't hang out much after that. We stayed in touch for a few years and that was that. Nobody's reading this so I guess this is more of much postponed diary entry self-therapy session. To preface, I haven't been much of a ladies man. Most sex I've had have been hookups or unserious flings, and not very many at that. It might explain how things went. We met at work and she became my best friend very soon after. She is stunning, and so funny. I never thought I had a crumb of a chance with her, so I didn't even consider her romantically for such a long time. But we hung out at and off of work a lot and we grew closer and closer. About a year goes by and I realize I would hate myself forever if I didn't try. So one night at a work party, a good bit tipsy, I asked if she'd want to go on a date. She said I weren't really her type, fair, not a looker exactly, but that she felt super close to me, and she didn't know what to do. I figured that's that. Back to wherever zone I tried to crawl out of. But the very same night, she kissed me, and we hooked up, and it was something I had never experienced. Giving and receiving pleasure with someone you truly, deeply care for. When she left my place, I was sure that's it, one time thing, whatever. She probably thinks it was a mistake and we'll just pretend it didn't happen. But a week later, it happened again. I figured 2 times aren't mistakes anymore. She knows I have feelings for her, and now I started thinking she must feel the same. I finally let myself believe it. This could be real. And the next time we met she said she doesn't want to take it further anymore. I ducking let myself believe, I let my feelings go, untethered. And as soon as I did, she pulled the brakes. She had perfectly good reasons that didn't even factor me in. But it hurt so much. I never showed her how bad I hurt. I never sulked or begged her back. I often wonder if she could see through it. I hope she didn't. I tried so hard, staying friends with her. And I did, for a while. But every time we talked, every time I saw a pic on IG, every time someone mentioned her at work, it was like a dagger twisting in my chest. I loved her. I still do. 5 years later. We haven't talked in at least 3. Haven't felt really anything close to that with anyone since. I regret saying anything, because I lost both a friend and the closest thing to true love I've felt. I just hope she is happy. Ended up in a poly relationship with her and her husband for a few years. Eventually she broke it off with me as we worked better as friends, but I stayed with her husband. They got divorced few years ago. She's still with her other partners about to remarry and I'm still with her ex. We all still hang out together frequently and play D&D twice a month. We were in our mid-20s, friends since we were 14. Both of us fresh out of sexless relationships. So we were horny and decided to give it a shot. It was weird. In a hotel, almost got walked in on by the cleaners. My period showed up early and I bled everywhere. I cried a bit afterwards as I was scared of our friendship ending. He was very kind and comforting and it ended up being okay. He got me a job with his company several years later, of which I will be forever grateful as I was very poor back then. We didn't hang out much as our lives were moving in different directions. He moved to another country, got a very powerful well-paying job, got married and had a kid. I have a long-term partner of 9 years. Even though we aren't in touch all the time, in our mid-40s, he is still someone I could call randomly and vice versa, and it feels exactly the same since we were 14. We are still the same people and I consider him someone I love very much, platonically. I'm genuinely glad he made it in life. We slept together for about 10 months while also sleeping with other people. We talk about the others we slept with and knew what each other was up to. We had lots of strong feelings for each other, but it was a whole complex situation, so we avoided dating. Then I blew him off for another guy and he realized that it made him too upset to just remain friends and all the complications would have to deal with it. We've now been together 12 years and married for 7 years. We have 2 awesome children. He helped me get through nursing school, nurse practitioner school, and was there for everything. We still consider each other our best friend and have a very happy marriage. We became FWB for a while. He stopped treating me like a friend and started behaving like a duck boy. I realized that's what he had been doing to other girls for as long as I knew him, but I was a pick-me and one of the guys and I thought I deserved different. I wasn't interested in a relationship. I'm talking basic decency stuff. Then I realized it was not about other girls' value or mine. My friend was just an asshole. I put a lot of distance, easy because we lived in different cities at that point. When I got into my next serious relationship, he casually mentioned us having slept together in front of my new BF, who already knew, just to stir shit up. I went full NC and haven't spoken to him for like 10 years. We started dating and I thought things were going great. At the time we lived about 2 hours apart in different cities, and since it was the early 90s all we had was snail mail and phone calls during the week, but on the weekends we'd get together. Then one weekend she came to my house. We hung out together and had a nice time, and when she left, that was the last time I ever heard from her. I tried calling her house, and after about 2 weeks of calling, her roommate answered the phone and told me she moved back to Wyoming, where she was originally from, to live with her mom. That was it. Like I said, I never heard a word from her ever again. Several years later, I bumped into a mutual friend who told me she ended up married to some Arab dude and she became a traditional Muslim wife. This made almost no sense to me because that chick was a hardcore punk girl when we were friends and was the proto-riot GRRRL. Considering that her friend was a complete flake, I think she might have been pulling my chain, but weirder things have happened. But yeah, I got ghosted big time before we use that word to describe that. Over the years I tried looking her up a few times online just to find out whether or not she's still alive, but her name is just common enough that I can't find anything. And she might not have any sort of social media presence under her birth name. Especially if she really did become some traditional Muslim wife for some Arab dude. I'm an older college student, returning to school for a midlife career change after a divorce and doing some difficult self-work. Met a man in class who was in exactly the same situation. We quickly became incredibly close friends. Initially it was just study buddies, but then we started hanging out just because we enjoyed each other's company, but it was never romantic or sexual. Then one night we drank a little too much and made out. We mutually agreed it couldn't happen again because our lives were too complicated with our own kids and all that, but we stayed close. Then we went out of town together to celebrate making it through a tough semester. We got a room with 2 separate beds, agreed that everything would be completely platonic. That plan failed. We made out again. Then when we talked about it a few days later, we came to the conclusion that we both went into that night knowing what would ultimately happen, and we decided to go on the trip anyway. That must mean that, whether or not we were ready to admit it, this was what we both wanted. We became a couple. We told our classmates, who all laughed because most of them had assumed we were already together. I guess everyone else saw it before we did. It's been about 10 months since we made it official, and I have never been happier. This is the deepest, most honest, emotionally secure relationship I've ever had. We don't just meet each other's needs, we somehow have this institution ability to anticipate each other's needs and meet them before the other has to ask. We were officially together for a few months before we ever had sex, and I think that helped. We built a very solid foundation of trust. We're both middle-aged and have done what we need to do to work through our own baggage. It hasn't even been a year yet, so I'm trying not to get hung up on the future, but I think I want to have this man by my side for a long, long time. He wasn't necessarily my best friend, but he was a super close friend of mine in high school. Used to go over to his house and hang out with him all the time, but we never did anything sexual together. I moved away, our lives went on. I saw him pretty much every time I would go back to that town, but it was always with groups of people and as friends. Went back a few months ago and saw him. We are 38 years old now, timing aligned, and we slept together. We are now engaged and I am happier than I ever could have imagined. I guess 24 years of loving and respecting someone, even from a distance, has finally worked itself out. Fireworks, man, it was amazing. Her and I always had some sexual tension between us. It started out slow, cuddling here and there, feeling each other up, you know how it is. One night we went all the way and we both admitted it was ducking awesome. We've never felt that kind of connection. We literally lost ourselves when we had sex. The world stopped. We talked about it regularly, we even said we loved each other. Then one day out of the blue she brings some dude over and keeps telling him I'm just her best friend, blah blah blah. It was about a year later, still having sex mind you, she came home from work and evicted me out of the house. Her and the dude she brought over are now married. No idea what changed, super ducking weird. I broke up with my boyfriend the next day and promised my best friend I'd never do anything like that to him because he's my friend and I respect him. Our first date was easy, because we already knew each other so well. We moved in together after about 4 months and got engaged a year after that. Now we're about to celebrate our 4th wedding anniversary on Tuesday, and I'm nursing our 6-week-old baby while writing this.